Hi, everyone. This is Sakia Jackson Sellers, completing Module 4. And the first question is what influences or guidelines influence my child care center? For me, the center rules and regulations are conducted by the North Carolina Child Care Commission. They meet once a month. They make the rules and laws that govern child care centers. We have a license, uh, we have a consultant who licenses child care centers. They also work to make sure all the laws and the rules are being followed. And such as when they come in, they check all the files, the staff files. They make sure they check the materials, the play areas, as well as they inspect the outside playground, and they make sure that we are conducting all our paperwork, file drill reports, uh, our weekly uh, lesson plans and menu plans, and all the paperwork that's involved with making sure the standards are met for licensed child care providers. They also, the child care licensing consultants, also investigate centers that may be being ran illegally, and they are the ones who go in if they're called to or suspect that someone is running an operation that is not licensed by the state of North Carolina, keeping two or more children that are not related to you is against the law in North Carolina. So the consultants uh, are the ones that child care providers deal with, and the rules come down from the North Carolina Commission Board. The second question is how does assessments impact my daily work and climate of the center? And for me, we are assessing the children every day, all day. We're making sure that they meet their benchmarks, milestones, um, that they're growing and developing. In my case, because I am a licensed center in a residence, I have, as I've said before in my previous vlogs, a lot of parent communication every day. I see most of the parents twice a day when they bring the kids in the morning and in the evenings if I'm still here, we communicate. So those would be the things that, and then talking with them about what's going on with the kids and the kids daily, following their daily schedule and interaction, that helps us to make better assessments of what's going on with the children. Um, I also enjoyed some of the recordings conducted by Ms. Diane Ratliff. I thought that her views about the state of public education I agreed with, and I hope that the state of North Carolina works to continue to improve our public school system. Leading into that, I want to talk about school choice. It says, what do you know about school choice? I personally have a lot of experience with school choice. I have two children that are school age. One is in high school. He is in currently he is in the IB program. Um, During his primary years, he attended private school, and from his sixth to eighth grade years, he uh, was in a IB middle school, and now he has transitioned into a IB program in the ninth grade. My youngest son, who is 10, is currently in the fourth grade at a private school, a small private school. He has about 10 students in his class, and in that class, there is third, fourth, and fifth grade with one teacher. So I definitely support school choice. I think that kids, all kids are different. They learn different. Some kids need more challenges than others. So school choice to me is great, and I wholeheartedly support it. And I'm glad that I have the options to put my boys in programs that fit their individual needs, academically as well as socially. And the next question is, what questions would I have for the superintendent of North Carolina, Mark Johnson? And my first question would be, what changes could be made within the public school system to help North Carolina receive a better national ranking? I did a little research and I found that North Carolina is ranked 40th in the nation. So I would want to know what the plans are to get North Carolina at least in the top 10 of national ranking. And my second question would be, um, with in the wake of what happened last week in Florida, I would want to know what procedures and things are we trying to implement and put in place to keep all our students and teachers safe here in the state of North Carolina. That would be a question that I would like to ask. And thirdly, I would want to know what incentives and in what ways could we help with the early childhood education piece, helping teachers, helping centers to avoid the high turnover rate with teachers with higher compensation. So what are we doing as a state to help to compensate the preschool teachers uh, so that we won't continue to see such a high turnover rate in these child care centers and programs? The next question is about the let's see about as far as Mark Johnson, I do agree with his claims in regards to school choice. The statement that he made that we do not have to subscribe to the notion that one size fits all works for every child, every student, because it does not. And I definitely agree with that statement. And as I stated, I am definitely one for school choice. I think parents should have the right, as parents, we should know our child and we should know what learning style works for them. So I agree that school choice should be an option for all families as well as students. Uh, the next thing was it asked to please do some basic research on magnet schools and how they differ from traditional schools. And magnet schools, in my research, I found that, and with my past experience, I know that magnet schools differ from other public schools in that you have to submit to a lottery. And at that point, they send you a letter and let you know whether your child was accepted into whatever specific program that you're applying to, whether it is an IB or world language or in Charlotte, we have a lot of options for magnet programs. We have a school specified, Northwest School of the Arts, that is if I'm not mistaken, it's a 6th through 12th grade program that specializes in the arts, drama, and dance, and you have to audition to get in that particular magnet program. You have your STEM programs. So that's how magnet schools differ from traditional schools. There's they also, I found in doing some research, is that magnet schools generally they receive additional funding that enables them to spend more money on their students, supplies, teacher programs, etc. So I know, for example, my son that is in the IB program, currently he is in an extended day program for science, and he gets out of school at 2:15, and 2 days a week he can stay at school until 5 to work to get a better understanding for the science, and they provide a snack. They provide transportation. They also provide Saturday school, and it is of no cost to my husband and I. So firsthand, I have a lot of experience and knowledge about the magnet program. The next question is, how are magnet schools and charter schools different? And I've given some feedback about magnet schools. So what I found out about charter schools are they also are a public choice, and they are governed by either a board of parents and community members or private educational service firms. Charter schools have a different organizational model. They have a charter that releases them from the regular public school administration. The charter schools have open enrollment, and they don't discriminate. And a lot of them have no religious association, and they don't require tuition. So, for some parents, charter school is another option for them if they find that the magnet school may be, not necessarily for them. So charter school is another program that provides parents with other options. The next thing is in regards to the $250 tax credit that teachers receive. Because I am self-employed, I have to provide all the material and supplies for my child care center. These things are tax deductible for me under my business. And I know a couple of years ago, I was able to receive a grant from Smart Start that I was able to use on material, equipment, teacher bonuses, and it did really curriculum, and it really did help out with the finances of the daycare center. So every year I'm constantly replacing material because kids break things. I think $250 is a joke for classroom teachers because I know, we have to have tissue and, sometimes clothes and other things that the children need. And a lot of times teachers are out spending their own personal money, as in some of the articles I read, to provide material for the classroom. So I really feel like, personally, they should look at increasing that to at least $500 a year for teachers. But as I stated in my case, I do have the benefit of being able to write off everything that I buy because I am self-employed. And that includes my training classes, material, everything. My van for the daycare, the gas that I spend when I'm taking the kids on field trips. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have a very knowledgeable accountant that helps me to make sure I get all the credit for the things that I have spent out. The next thing that we talked about is recruitment and retention, which is a really, really major issue in the field of early childhood education. And that is because a lot of teachers don't have higher level education. They're not receiving the pay that they're not being compensated. You might find in centers you have teachers with associate's degrees. Some teachers have bachelor's degrees, but preschool teachers are not required to have bachelor's degrees. Most centers, 4 and 5 stars, want degree teachers. And research has shown that most centers who have teachers who are have higher level education provide higher quality, and they don't have as many incidents as far as abuse and neglect. And it certainly does make a difference. I chose the article. Let's see. No, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to talk about what I chose to research. the area that I chose to research as far as influences. And what I chose to research was what I was just talking about, turnover and the pay rate. And what I found in my research was the low compensation and lack of benefits for preschool teachers is one reason we have such a high turnover. Another thing that I found in my research is a lot of teachers don't stay is because of the work environment. And lastly, um, they said a lot of them said as far as the inadequate administrative support. As a child care center director of a small center, and I have said in my previous modules how much paperwork I have to do on top of teaching and caring for the children. So in your bigger centers, commercial centers that house 50 plus kids, the administration they are busy doing a lot of paperwork. I couldn't imagine, having 10 plus teachers and 50 or 60 kids and having to do all the paperwork that the state requires that we have to complete. So I can definitely see how the teachers would feel like they don't have the support of the administration. And after completing my research, the question was, what does this mean for you as a teacher? What this means is we must continue to work to help increase the compensation for teachers by encouraging them to get a higher level of education, to make sure they understand the importance of professionalism and the importance of early childhood education, and just helping to teach the community and community leaders about importance of early childhood education. But more than anything, we're going to definitely have to come with some higher education standards so that preschool teachers can receive the compensation and benefits that I feel like, in my opinion, deserve. Because they do work hard to get the kids ready for school. So coming back to that, let's see. The next thing I talked about, what I chose to research. So now I want to talk about the article that I chose, and that was the article was entitled "Want to Reduce the Teacher Shortage? Treat Teachers Like Professionals." And I definitely agree with this article. It was saying that sometimes teachers, that salary is a big factor in, with reduction in teachers, and teachers want to be treated like professionals, from preschool teachers, from K through 12 teachers. So I chose that article because I did my research on teacher turnover, and professionalism goes in with that as well. So it says, how does legislation impact me as a teacher? It impacts me because, one, a lot of children that I receive are receiving subsidy care, which is financial aid assistance for childcare. And they have a long waiting list for parents needing assistance financially for their children. And I feel like the legislation should provide nationally universal preschool for all children, and that all children should be in a high quality early childhood environment. So I would love to see the country work on some type of universal preschool program like some other countries have. And as far as funding for me at my center, if parents can't afford privately to pay out of their pocket, and they're not receiving child care assistance, then they're a lot of times are putting their children in illegal situations at illegal centers, or leaving them with relatives that are not fit to care for preschool children. So funding is definitely a big issue in the early childhood education sector. And the climate around teaching in my state, basically, I'll just summarize again that if we don't compensate teachers, they're not going to stay. And that's, I talk to a lot of center directors, and they have a serious issue with teacher turnover and burnout, because they want their centers to get their 4 and 5 star license. And a lot of times some of these preschool teachers don't want to go back to school, and if they do, they just center hop. And it's definitely a serious problem. A majority of the calls that I receive for new clients have their children in commercial centers, and they complain. Every month I go in, it's a different teacher, or it's too many kids. Things are getting lost. So I feel like the solution to that problem is universal child care. I have all the requirements the same for all centers, so that all children are receiving the same high quality early childhood experience. And as far as curriculum, I choose to use the creative curriculum. You definitely have a lot of choices as early childhood teachers. You can use high scope, creative, Montessori if you choose to. There are a lot of different options, but for me, I choose to use the creative because it helps me to be able to, that particular curriculum helps me to be able to implement some other things, and just add to enrich the curriculum. And it also teaches the children critical thinking skills. Let's see. Oh, and getting back to the article that I chose, again, it was about the turnover among early childhood educators. Well, that was another article that I liked. But the first article was how to reduce the teacher shortage and treating teachers like professionals. Lastly, when reading and researching my particular topic, do I feel the dismantling of the state is of education is either small or extensive? I think that the state of education is as far as in the public school system, I feel that it's in a crisis situation. I'll be very honest with you. The teachers, from what I'm hearing and reading and learning, they have a lot of demands placed on them, and I do too. But it's a little bit different because I don't have to worry about the the standardized testing and things of that level. And I'm trying to see, as far as understanding my commitment as a teacher, how do you navigate these demands? And for me, it's preparing the students, preparing the children for when they do leave, preparing the parents, informing them to be involved, to check their kids' homework every day, to join the PTA and attend the conferences. So just definitely encouraging them, the parents, to be involved in their kids' education like they are involved when they're in preschool. So just continuing on to stay actively involved. And understanding this and my commitment as a teacher, I've already explained, and how would I navigate these demands? How does these outside influences, how do they influence in my space and yet move forward. And I say for me in my space, how I try to handle, I have been fortunate not to have a high teacher turnover. I definitely encourage any my staff and any early childhood education teacher to continue their education, to always take classes so they can grow and learn and develop because children change. I've been doing this for 10 plus years and I can see a difference in the children in when they're engaged in play. For example, now kids are mimicking playing video games, talking on the cell phone. When I first started in early childhood education, children were not doing that. So um, just staying abreast of the current events and continuing to grow and develop and want to learn, attend seminars and workshops, but more than anything, take higher level education courses so that you can stay abreast on the laws and all the changes and the philosophies that affect early childhood education. And what advice would I have for a first year teacher who is experiencing the influences for the first time? I would say be encouraged, never give up, uh, always show love and compassion, and have understanding, and don't be afraid to grow. Don't be afraid to expand and just if you love what you do and you know it's what you've been called to do, just to just to find your niche in the field of early childhood. It may be infants, it may be working with toddlers, it may be working with children, preschool children. So, or even after schoolers. So I would just say to see what fits you best and and go with that specific area. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed my vlog and I provided you with more insight as far as it relates to early childhood education. Thank you.